4 o'clock. We should start the meeting as it was scheduled. So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Kathy Ding. I am the fiscal analyst and incarcerated individual betterment fund administrator. And this is our public meeting to review the incarcerated individual betterment fund financial information for the quarter ending in March 2022. Join me today are Anita Kendall, Comptroller, Diane Dunan, Assistant Comptroller, Sandra Morrison, Financial Services Manager, Lisa Flynn, Correction Program Administrator, Don Taylor, Family Service Manager. And I'm glad that we have Felix D'Alessandro here as a family representative. And I'm very happy to announce that Julie Burton just joined us as well as a family representative. And we are looking forward to working with you, Julie, if you're here. So first, I would like Anita to give us some overview of today's meeting. Felix and Julie, if you would like, you can introduce yourself as well.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. Good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us today. In case there are some new folks on the call today, I'll introduce myself. I'm Anita Kendall. I'm the comptroller for the agency, and our business services team. We run the back office functions that support our operational divisions. I feel like each meeting we're improving the format a little more, and so today I appreciate your patience and sticking with us and through all the changes that we've made over the last several months and trying to find the right format. We're going to try just one more tweak today to try to improve the flow of the meeting. So first, let me say that we encourage you to put your questions in chat at any time, and those questions will be answered with the meeting minutes, and that we are posting the meeting minutes more timely. This last meeting, they got posted very quickly after we sent them to IT, so I appreciate that from IT. Kathy will be walking through the whole budget to actual report before we'll be taking questions. And as I said, at any time you can type questions into the chat. If you want your question answered live in this meeting, then we'll ask you to ask it during the question and answer at the end. One of the feedback that we got after the last meeting was a need for more equitable access to asking questions. And so today we're going to ask you to ask one question at a time. And, you know, if we didn't provide you enough information to answer the question, then go ahead and ask a follow-up question. But if you have another question, go ahead and put your hand down and back up, and that will put you back into the queue so you can ask another question. Sandra is going to monitor hands today, and also those that are on the phone, if they have questions, to unmute themselves. So we'll have her do that during the question and answer session. I hope this change will give us more time at the end for questions and that the flow goes a little bit better. So with that, Felix, do you have anything that you want to say?
As you did, I'll introduce myself, as not everyone probably knows me. I say that because I'm not sure I know everyone whose picture I see. My name is Felix D'Alessandro. I'm the state rep at WCC currently. I've been working with Anita and Kathy and Diane and the IIBF budget people now for, I think it's going on 3 years at any rate. I think that's about right. And I think we've come a long way. I think we're about ready to do the budget build for FY23, and I think we'll be able to recount some of the lessons we've learned in the last year or so to make that a more open process. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Felix. Back to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Felix. So before we start our presentation, I would like everyone to please help me with a couple of housekeeping items. In order to ensure the audio quality, please mute yourself during the presentation. For those of you who use the calling feature, you can press *6 on your phone to mute and unmute yourself. During the Q&A session, also you can press *5 to raise your hands. And once you're done, you can press *5 and give other people the chance. As mentioned on the meeting agenda, this meeting will be recorded and posted on DOC public website, IIBF webpage. So for those who are not able to join us today, they can have the opportunity to listen to the meeting recording at a later time. So with that, we're going to start the presentation. So I will share my screen with you so that we can all take a look at the report together. Let me know if you can see the report. Will you be able to see that now? Okay, so I will try it one more time. There must be something. Okay, let me see. That's not bad.
While Kathy's doing that, I just want to give a shout out. I see several of our local business managers and a couple of leadership folks here. So thank you so much for attending.
Okay. Yeah, I think the share function is not working on my screen right now. So maybe I can send a report to Sandra, and then let's do that.
Sandra, is your share grayed out or is it lit? Mine's grayed out.
Mine's lit.
Okay.
Kathy, are you going to email me what you want me to pull up, or?
Yes. Yeah, let me do that. Sorry about the technical difficulties here.
That's okay, Kathy. It has to be something each meeting. So this is it. So no
Okay.
worry.
Thank you, Anita. Okay, Sandra, I just sent it to you.
Are we good?
I can see it now, Sandra.
Okay. All right.
Oops.
Thank you, Sandra. Okay, so now we can all focus on the screen right now with the quarterly IIBF budget to actual report comparison report. As you can see, it is from July to March, so it covers 3/4 of the financial information on this report. So this report is divided into two parts, revenue and expenditures. So I will start with the revenue first. So the overall actual revenue is 92% from the projection IIBF revenues that we started on fiscal year 2022 projections. The IIBF revenue comes mostly from the commissions, and the phone commissions counts approximately 89% from the total. Phone commission revenue comes from the contracted provider of local and long distance services for incarcerated individual phone calls. The actual revenue as of March is 90% from the projected amount. The new FCC ruling started in November 2021 with lower commission rate has the impact on the phone commission that IIBF received. Next is the interest income. The interest revenue is based on previous fiscal year's actual. With fast lowered interest rate since 2020, IIBF received a very minimum of interest revenue from the interest-bearing accounts of KeyBank. Next is the JPay commission. JPay revenue comes from the contracted electronic MP3 music, emails, and the video visiting services. The total commission received is about the same as we projected. So next is the laundering commission. There's no revenue projections because right now all the work releases facilities are using the commercial grade machines for free of charge for the incarcerated people over there. Recycling revenue is for any revenue that received from recycling plastic, aluminum cans from designated incarcerated individual visiting rooms. There has been no recycling revenue as of this quarter. There is no projection for vending machine this fiscal year when projected revenue for vending machine because there's uncertainty of when the visitation will be fully resumed. And as you can see, the actual of the vending commission from this quarter is from the work releases facilities, and the majority of them probably is from the staff's purchases from there. Next item is the contraband. There are no revenue projection for contraband. This revenue incomes is determined and based on the Washington State statute. If you would like to have more information, they're available at DOC website under DOC policy 200 trust accounts for incarcerated individuals. The very last line item under the revenue is the 25% revenue transfer to crime victims compensation account, also called a CVC. This is required by RCW. DOC transfers 25% of all IIBF revenue received to the crime victims compensation fund. It is administered by other state agency, which is Labor and Department of Labor and Industries. So let's move on to the budget to actual comparison on the expenditure part. During the 2021 legislative session, staff salaries were transferred from IIBF to State General Fund. About $2.7 million was in expenditure was transferred out. So IIBF budget committee members took advantage of this change to recommend reinvesting a portion of this funding into activities that involve the wellness of the incarcerated in the population and strengthen ties with families. I will mention the areas when going through the report. Lisa and Diane will provide some detailed information at today's meeting as well. The overall expenditures, so the overall actual expenditure compared with the allotment for the quarter ending in March is 72%. IIBF expenditure includes restricted and non-restricted expenditures. So the restricted IIBF expenditures are those non-discretionary funding in general, including a pre-planned family-friendly events, activities, public movie license fees, contracted TV cable services fees, as well as a law library online subscription services. So the total actual expenditure from the restricted spending is 95% from what was allotted for the, as of third quarter of 2022. I want to begin with the family-friendly spending. As mentioned earlier, due to the staffing costs being moved to the state general fund, the budget group made family-friendly investments on lodging assistance programs, transportation assistance program, supplemental pop-up funds, and future deployment funds for this fiscal year. So the total family-friendly actual compare with the budgeted amount is 2% over what was allotted as of this quarter. With Secretary's special approval, there were comfort items provided to the incarcerated population during COVID outbreak and restrictions, lockdowns at the facilities. I will go over some of the details listed below. The first one you can see is the family-friendly events and activities. Those are the pre-planned family-friendly facility events for all prisons, work releases, and community justice centers. The budget amount is based on the planned activities from all facilities. We're working on building fiscal year 2022 IIBF budget. So Family Services Unit took a different approach, including review and work with facilities to come up with the list of events based on the nature of the needs from each institution. The actual expenditure is 56% from what was allotted. While many of the in-person events and activities could not happen due to the COVID outbreak and restriction, a Family Services Unit was able to they're trying many ways, such as greeting cards, getting some greeting cards out there, photo frames, and a Thanksgiving basket out to the families. Some of them were done by family, loved ones driving through, picking them up. Some of them are by mailing those items out to the families. So the non-spending and available funding will be reviewed by the IIBF Budget Committee to see if it can be used at another areas for family ties for the rest of the fiscal year. And the next one is the family-friendly lodging assistance program. This is a part of family-friendly investment from the available funding from the staffing cost. We are increasing the amount from $75,000 to $100,000 from last fiscal year to help with some of the travel costs when families visiting their loved ones from long distance. DOC public website has the detailed information on how this lodging assistance program works. As the program has been temporarily suspended due to the COVID outbreak at the facilities, the actual spending is 3% from the allotment. With visitation resume, we should see more expenditures come from this category in the coming month. And the next one is a family-friendly transportation assistant. With the discontinuation of the contract with Western Van Services, the Family Council representatives suggest a program to aid in travel in addition to the lodging assistant. The funding will come out from the lodging assistant program above with the similar process. The next one is family-friendly supplemental pop-up funds. This is additional funding other than the pre-planned family-friendly events. So they can give a staff member more flexibility and other to look into other areas with incarcerated population and their loved ones to come up with the events that out of the normal budget cycle. The actual spending right now is 10% from the allotted amount this quarter. Family Services has been working with facilities, individuals on identifying the needs and interests of the events when the visitation resumed. So we'll see more activities and expenditures coming out of this area as well in the coming month. We have some placeholder money put into family-friendly statewide family council member travel and meeting supplies. You can see, just in case in-person meeting resume, this can be used for that. If not, this can be used at other areas, like I mentioned. Next item is the family-friendly communication support. Initially, this is also a placeholder in case GTL stop the 20 minutes free calls to the incarcerated population. This money can be used and for that purpose. With Secretary's special approval, we are able to provide one-time $10 credit to all incarcerated population to making phone calls to their families and loved ones during the outbreak and lockdown time. So the actual expenditures are 61% from there. So they are all coming from this $10 credit, phone free call credit. Next is the family-friendly future deployment. With the needs during the holidays and a special approval from the secretary during the Omicron outbreak at multiple facilities, we were able to provide individual comfort items during holiday seasons as the goodie bags and the Super Bowl bags, a one-time $15 JPay credit, one-time $10 CI commissary credit, and hygiene kits, greeting cards to all the population that under our care. So the next line item is the Parenting Inside Out. This is for the training and the supplies for classes provided at the facilities. Last item under family friendly is a full size called a Family and Offender Sentencing Alternative. From the OC, we call that Community Parenting Alternative. The $200,000 allocation and spending is for the supplies and the materials in need for this purpose. So next we'll talk about other spending. As mentioned earlier, other spending areas are for the contract license or services, including motion picture licenses. This is the contract we are now having with Swank Motion Picture License. This is to provide the public performance movie license for both prisons and work release facilities. The cost is based on the ADP from each facility while working on the contract with the company. The budget amount is based on the contract with Swan Motion Pictures. We did survey on the usage prior to renew the contract with Swan Motion Pictures, and every year we do the survey with the facilities based on the usage and ADP numbers towards the end of June. Next is the TV system. This is for the TV and the cable services fees. Based on the monthly charge from each facility, and the usage is just based on the contract. Next is the law library subscriptions, books, and PC lease. And these are the contract items for individuals to access to the online legal services that provided by LexisNexis and Thomson Reuters. The expenditure is 99% from what was allotted. So these are the other spendings, which most of them are the contract services. Next items is another spending under restricted expenditures called a supplemental request. This category was created so that additional funding will be available in case there's needs out there. The actual expenditure there was for an emergency repair at one facility for their cable TV equipment. So let's move on to the non-restricted budget expenditure. This is the $10 per incarcerated individual allocation. We consider as the discretional funding for local facility to allow the programs such as barbershop, cultural events, TV rental programs, and the recreational programs and activities. There are recovery fees collected from incarcerated individual for programs such as TV rental, EFV, and the recreational programs. This is per RCW and DOC policies. The recovery fees will be offset the expenditures occurred for such programs and to use for equipment repairing and purchasing. So with projections of reducing population of fiscal year 2020 and analysis from the fiscal year 2021 ADP financial status, IIBF budget committee decided to keep the same dollar amount for fiscal year 2022, which is $10 for each incarcerated individual. As of quarter ending in March 2022, the actual spending under this category is $153,000 with a total recovery fees of $151,000. So the $2,543 is the net from recovery and actual expenditure. So like I said, if we do not spend all of this money, the available funding will revert back to IIBF fund balance. So next is the investment item. Due to the available funding from the staffing costs being moved to the State General Fund in 2021, IIBF Budget Group recommend that we reinvest a portion of those funding into activities to improve the wellness of our population and strengthen ties with family. There are 3 line items there. The first one is a TV system enhancement. The initial budget plan include funding to pursue service package enhancement. Because we put recreational and EFV visiting improvement as a priority during the lockdowns and COVID outbreak. So this enhancement has not been completed yet due to the outbreak at the facilities. So a decision was made by the secretary to increase the population's TV access by expanding the number of TV set available at the facilities to issue to those individuals in isolation and quarantine status. So we actually purchased 560 TV sets for that purpose as of now. And the next one is the wellness enhancement with a survey with incarcerated individuals. Family Services Unit present recommendation to the leadership and developed a model for the type, brand, and number of recreation equipment and purchased the outdoor multi-gyms and indoor exercise equipment. So Lisa will talk more about after this. Next item on this reinvestment is EFV and a visiting improvement. This is to improve the experience of incarcerated individual and their loved ones. With reopen of EFV and visitation, facilities are working closely with family services on getting list of the items on their category. and many of them occurred in April. So we'll see more expenditures in the coming month. So in wrapping up of the fiscal year 22 third quarter IIBF budget to actual report, the total spending for the quarter ending in this quarter is 72% from the allotment of this quarter. So this is the budget to actual comparison report that I completed. Next, we'll have Lisa and Diane share some information on the reinvestment items. Thank you all.
First.
Yeah, Lisa, you want to start with the wellness enhancement for music and rec?
Yes, that would be great. So with the music and recreation programs, we're looking at the different different types of recreation equipment that we could buy in bulk and then have delivered. Many of the facilities didn't have or don't have a great deal of outdoor recreation equipment options. And so we were able to purchase these Helios multi-gyms for every facility and several for certain facilities, depending on their outside yard capacity. So those have all been delivered and they're being installed right now. We have implementation plans that have been received from the different facilities, and those can continue to come in, because in addition to those, we've purchased outdoor rower and bikes that are able to, they're correctional grade equipment. They can withstand the weather that we have here in the Pacific Northwest. And so that really hasn't been able to expand, or will be expanding the options for doing some cardio out in the big recreation yards, outside recreation yards, and even in some of the areas within the facility that maybe they don't have access to the same yard as the general population. So we just really made sure that we expanded and got this big equipment into all these different areas. In addition to that, for all the standalone camps and the women's facility, we bought commercial grade equipment for their gym and recreation areas. So a lot of stair steppers and treadmills and exercise bikes and rowers and things like that that are inside as well. So that was a huge thing. And we have an implementation plan at every facility right now. That is a combination of the recreation director, the plant manager, and the program manager over the recreation program at the facility. And they're providing us that plan for implementation to ensure that we try to get all of those done here in a timely fashion, so people have access to it now that all the equipment has arrived. So that's the recreation piece that we have going on. In addition to that, we're also asking, because there's a few funds left, we wanted to look at if there was any areas that we missed. So they're doing an assessment and an audit of their existing equipment right now. And we're taking a look at if there's any areas that we can actually enhance with that allotment. And they should be providing us those reports here fairly soon. As far as the music piece, we have a memo that will be coming out sharing a little bit about musical instruments, and we moved to allow certain items to be purchased, but there's nothing associated directly with the IIBF right now with the music program. As we continue to look for resources and things that we might be able to do at the local facility levels. A lot of that will probably be around the only band equipment that we still continue to purchase, which is drums that we purchase so that they can be used in our services or at special events and activities when the individuals get together and play for us. So that's what I have on those two areas. Diane, do you have some additions? You're muted.
I hate that mute button. What I was saying when my lips were moving but no sound was coming out was, no, Lisa, you did a great job of explaining what we did, and we did spend almost all the money that we have had budgeted for this activity, And I'm thinking that the incarcerated population will be very happy with the new equipment because it is pretty much state of the art what you'll find in commercial gyms, and it's great that we had the opportunity to make that investment.
It's very nice. Thank you very, very much. And then as far as the EFB and visit room enhancements, Kathy shared with you that we moved to a new process. We're actually going to talk about it at the Statewide Family Council. But we heard from the survey that was conducted that we did with family members and the incarcerated individuals, but more from family, that we have a really inconsistent process at each facility as how you sign up for those. But the main concern was around the materials inside the EFBs. And so Don Taylor did a great job going to the facilities, looking in the EFBs, taking some notes. We have some other activities around the visit rooms themselves, doing some audits and assessments. And so with that said, we've created an EFB standards document that we'll be sharing here probably in the next couple of weeks, but we've rolled it out to facilities that will create a standard itemized list of things that will be available in every EFB. As far as equipment in the kitchens, what we have as far as additional, the furniture that's available based on the size of the EFB unit. So the cost that you'll see in the next quarterly rollout will be all of the brand new furniture that is being purchased. I don't know, Diane, do you have that before and after picture for OCC so they can kind of see the difference of what's going? We want to make these more family friendly and homey. So we have worked with the facilities to really be able to improve the EFBs for that purpose. And so if Diane can find these before and after pictures, I'll just kind of give you and Don Taylor might still have them as well. So
I do have them. Let me see if I can make
bring
them
them up
bigger
and share. But that way it'll give families an opportunity to see this is happening at all facilities, and including just the furniture. They're redoing paint and they're redoing floors, and they're looking, for example, there's some units that were large enough that had appliances that we could put updated appliances in. So yeah, they're doing a whole lot of work. We expect all of that work to be done pretty close to the end of June. But some of the facilities got a real great head start on it, and OCC is one of them, and we've got WCC that just purchased a bunch of brand new furniture for their EFBs. We've got the plant managers in there trying not to interrupt since we just brought EFBs back. We're trying to do it when an EFB isn't scheduled and take one unit down and get it all repaired and up and going. So.
Okay, I'm now ready to share before and after. Thank you for filling space while I figured out how to get a better picture.
You're quite welcome.
So hopefully what you are seeing on the screen right now is a before picture of the EFB unit at Olympic Correction Center in Forks. Mm-hmm. Notice a blanket over a couch, a futon that doesn't match. Just, it could use a little sprucing up.
And very sterile. That's the other thing we're trying to work on is making them warmer.
And when I saw this next picture, I was just simply amazed. So let me scroll up to that one. Here's after. Notice the furniture matches, and the rug ties in the Northwest theme of Olympic Correction Center up there in the woods, and it looks so much more homey. It doesn't look, this looks sterile and kind of old and dated, you know, old hotel. This looks new. This looks like it's inviting and welcoming, and hopefully those of you family that visit up at OCC, when you see this live, it will be even more impressive. And you know, look at the table too. The table before, well, it didn't match either of the couches that didn't match each other. And now we kind of have a common color and theme. So kudos to Lieutenant Price up there, who did just outstanding work, and Dawn and her team for putting together some standards that I think we can all be proud of.
good. And then yes, Felix, the part of the standard list was actually created from the surveys. Over in the chat, I can see Felix's question. And so most of that information was pulled out of those surveys that Dawn conducted. However, the big piece of this is being able to continue to provide suggestions for us. For the local facility there, we'd really like input on design of the decorations on walls and things like that. In addition to that, just as an aside away from this, is we're working with the Hands-On Children's Museum, and they're providing us additional feedback for child-friendly areas that include both visit room and EFVs. So yes, Felix, definitely we want to continue to get feedback from families, and we're going to do another assessment here in about 6 months after we really have the EFVs up and going again and people have been able to experience them, and request some customer feedback that way.
And along that lines with EFV, we also were able to lower the cost of a nightly EFV. We heard from Family Council that there was some concern about the increase from $10 to $15. So when we started looking at that, we said, yeah, we can reduce it. The downside is we also found out that we should not have been allowing families to pay for the visits. That was contrary to the RCW. So to mitigate both of those impacts, we reduced the fee to $5. And that has just been done, is consistent with opening of EFVs. And Lisa and I are both working with our legislative liaison office to submit agency request legislation to see if we can't change the law so that we aren't required to have the money come from the incarcerated individual's trust account and go back to the previous practice of allowing families to pay for those. I think we have a bunch of other ideas that range. There's quite a range of those ideas, and I don't want to share anything that hasn't been vetted with our agency leadership yet, because my ideas aren't always accepted. But we're trying to make some significant changes to at least get back to where we were before, and allow families to pay for those EFE visits.
And Felix, just to answer the last question that you had there, any expansion of EFVs is a capital cost, so it's a little bit different, and it's not associated with IIBF. So for all of you who work with your local family councils, that's a really good opportunity for you to work with the superintendent or your co-chair, your DOC co-chair there at the local facilities. If you start to see that people are having difficulty getting on the schedule, so now that we're bringing those EFVs back up, if there starts to be some challenges with actually getting a date, or you have to wait too long, that type of thing, those are the type of conversations we really encourage families to have with the local administration, because then they can start to assess what they can do as far as possible expansion. So. And let's see, Ms. Carr, the survey that went out, that we sent out to families, also went out to the incarcerated population. So they also gave us input on use of IIBF funds as well. And we're going to continue to do that. I believe, Dawn, was it twice a year we're going to do that? She's trying to unmute.
Sorry.
There we go.
For the incarcerated population?
Yeah, are we
Isn't
going to
needed.
try to run this survey twice a year, right?
We can do twice a year. I thought it was once, but yeah,
Okay.
it's something we can do.
And the other piece that'll be really helpful with the survey is we finally are working towards being able to run a survey on the institution kiosks, not the JPay kiosk, but the institution kiosk, where they can actually do a survey. Right now, they're building the program to be able to load that onto those kiosks. So we hope by the time that we run the next survey, it'll be right there, and then it'll calculate all the data for us.
Hi, can I ask, sorry, my eyes are not open right now. I apologize. I don't mean to cut off anybody, but may I ask a couple of questions?
Sure, Kaylani.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be rude. Is it actually time for questions?
Yes,
It,
we
it is,
scheduled a Q&A session. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. My first question is with the contracts that you guys have for vendors, I am under the impression that the department is getting commissions for from the union supply. Is that correct?
No.
No?
no, no, Union Supply is through Correctional Industries, and there are no commissions coming back to the Betterment Fund.
Is there commissions going to the department at all?
Well, I wouldn't say commissions. I don't know that I know what CI's arrangement with Union Supply is. If you would like us to have a conversation and put that in the minutes, we'd be happy to do that.
Okay, I just know that there's other contracts that are visible to the public, so I was just hoping that we could also have access to the contract, which I did request that at the statewide family council, and it still hasn't been, I mean, I shouldn't say it still hasn't, but it's not on the website. But thank you for that, Anita, I appreciate it. My second question is to the cable expenses. Out of curiosity, how do I say this? Do some of you know the quality that the incarcerated population is receiving with the services? Like, for instance, if I'm paying Comcast every single month, my service is going to be clear. Like, I can see the people moving around because that's what I pay for. I've heard from different families at different facilities that the cable that the incarcerated population they're watching is very, very staticky. Has anybody heard about that?
I haven't.
Okay.
Lisa, have you heard any feedback from the facilities?
No, I haven't, but I think it's part of our survey for the incarcerated population was to ask about the TV systems because we're going to be doing some work launching into the new fiscal year about our TV satellite systems and cable systems. So I think that would be something that we'll follow up with them on and make sure that we get that information from them. I appreciate you sharing that, Kaylani.
Yeah, I just appreciate you looking at that, Lisa, because if the department is paying for services that are supposed to be clear, I would think that that would be the services that the incarcerated population would get. And then I have one last question. On the reports that you guys do, the gal that meant Kathy, such an amazing job. Thank you for explaining everything. Is that something that you guys have for every single quarter for the last 5 years? The report?
You know, there's a certain amount of time that's on our website, Kaylani. If you go out there under the resources, you could certainly request a reasonable time frame going backwards, and we can provide that.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know if we
appreciate that,
have
Anita.
I don't know if we have 5 years readily available, but we can certainly provide you a number of quarters if you'd like.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So
I'm
are there
done.
other questions from family members about the report or any of those items that we can help answer?
I might have one question that
All right.
I'm a volunteer pastor, and I meet with churches often in regards to what they're doing or not doing for prisoners. And I wondered if it's possible that we could create an avenue of things like paying for extended family visits, and where the churches actually could have a fund that they could donate to that we could list some of these things that you're doing that would help fund what you're doing. Because lots of times what I find when I visit prisons, they don't know what to do. They're afraid, right? And they don't know how to help in certain ways, and they all try to deal with it in a different way. But I just wondered if I might not be able to assist in at least seeing what would happen is we could reach out to some of the churches and say, if you're interested in helping fund this, they could go out to their congregations and say, if you want to help prisoners, here's some ways you could do it. When I've tried to do it on an individual basis, it's more difficult because if they want to communicate, you have to correct the communication, you have to watch over them, you have to make sure they're getting the right kind of communications and all those kinds of things. And but I often get people that want to help, but they don't know how. And so I'm just wondering if you might be able to create a list. Maybe we could put together a flyer or something. I'd be helped to pay for the cost of that and just see what happens. It doesn't hurt. If nothing ventured, nothing gained. I just think there's some wonderful projects you have going here, and I think it'd be a wonderful way that, especially family visits, that I mean, they mean so much to the men. I just think that would be a key one that they could do, and transportation would be another, and room and board would be another. I just think that I can't think of all the times where that's come up where they can't come and visit because they don't have the money or the fuel, especially today, and those kinds of things. So I'm just threw that as my idea for the day.
Now, I appreciate that, Terry.
Yeah.
The only one that I can see some difficulty with, at least until the laws changed, is the EFE. And only because the statute requires the incarcerated individual to pay for that fee. But hopefully in the future, we'll be able to change that. But I appreciate your suggestion, and certainly the budget team, which many of us are on this phone call today, will sure we've written that down and Felix heard it, and maybe what comes out of that is we can brainstorm something like that and include your input as well. So thank you for that suggestion.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to join alongside you and see what I can do to help contribute in the process and see what
Anita,
happens.
Terry, may I?
Go ahead.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Felix, please do.
I just think Terry's idea is great. And with regard to the EFVs, you can't pay for the EFVs, but many people travel many miles from other states, even from other countries, to visit on EFVs. And some of their expenses on getting to the EFV, I think something like what Terry's suggesting, the churches could help out if they're interested and have the ability.
Yeah, I'm always trying to get them to do what they pray they do. And so it wouldn't be a problem for me to talk to them about that for sure.
And the department does have a donations policy where we accept donations, and Mr. Olson, I will get your contact information from Lisa and we
Great.
can have some dialogue about that and figure out how to partner to get that to happen.
See where it goes. I also heard, and I didn't know this was true, that, and it may not be true, that men can have actually a job or a way they can earn money while they're in prison by doing certain tasks. Like some guy told me today on JPay that they can now make bracelets and sell that on the outside. Is that true or is that not true?
Not to make them and sell them on the outside, but we do have a number of institutional support jobs where the incarcerated population can earn gratuities. And there's also class 2 industries in some of our facilities that work in the correctional industries, profit-making ventures, and then they're paid a higher wage for that work.
One time I had a fellow hand make me Christmas cards, and we couldn't make money, so he simply donated the cards to me, and I paid to have them printed and took them to my youth group, and they raised $2,000 for their youth group by the cards. Now the prisoner didn't get anything, but he got at least the value of making a difference in someone's life, which I thought was cool. So if that option,
Terry, I'm sorry, Terry, one of the things we can do is hook you up with Don Taylor and like Bill, who's on the call today in the Family Services Unit. Also, so when you and I meet on Monday, let's get you connected, and then a couple of family members, because we have some really proactive family members that would love to provide input on that as well.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yes, I'd also like to say, if Kaylani, if you're still on the call, it's my understanding that the union supply contract is on our external website. and it's on the commissary page if you scroll all the way to the bottom.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have about 6 minutes left. If there are any other questions?
I have a question. I'm sorry,
Yes.
I can't put my hand up. Oh, go ahead. I already asked a question, so go ahead.
Thank you. So I was curious, not the last quarterly report. I'm sorry, this is Michelle Mason. The last quarterly report, but the one before, I had requested the last 5 years of statements, specifically in regards to JPay, because in the 2020 report to the governor and legislation, which is one of the annual reports that's supposed to be submitted annually, and there's only one, this last year hasn't been done, that shows a total of $9,643,690. $9,643,690.91 in total revenue, but that doesn't reflect in the IIBF for that same year. So I was wondering when I might be getting those. And do you know when the next report is going to be submitted? Because this one for 2020 was submitted in February of 2021. And I'm on the legislation website, and there has been no report submitted for 2021.
Yeah, after you asked that question, I asked for that information. The last one was put up by one of the project managers from our enterprise performance team, and so I think that it got dropped, Michelle. So I will pick that up again and look for that, and I will get that up and posted. I think someone in the agency received it, so let me do some work on that.
All right, thank you. And then do you know when the contracted telecommunication and electronic media services for inmates in state correctional facilities annual report to legislation will be filed for the 2021 year?
I do not know that, but we'll take that down as a question, and
Thank you.
we'll include that in the minutes when it gets posted.
All right,
So
thank
Kathy,
you so much.
did you take a note of that? Okay, good. Wait, you asked a couple hard ones.
So if I could just address the $9 million piece of that Ms. Mason was speaking of, the legislative report talks about the total revenue received by the vendor. We only receive a portion of that in the commission. So those two reports, you'll never have what they report as revenue show in any of our financial information because we only get a portion of that.
That's true.
Do you know what that percentage portion is?
It was 56%. There has been some change based on a change at the FCC level that took out interstate calls where the termination and the other end of the call, which I can't think of right this second, it changed the fee structure so that the commission rate on those particular calls has dropped significantly. It's down to 2 cents by federal FCC rulings.
Right, so you're saying about 56%, so out of 9.7 million.
Before October. And then keep in mind that the revenue that we receive, there's also the 25% deduction that goes directly to crime victims compensation. So we don't get to keep all of our commission, and we don't get 100% of what the telephone companies collect for the phone service.
Right,
And
but those commissions first go into the IIBF and then it's taken out quarterly, correct? The 25%?
I can answer that. It's monthly, 25%. We send 25% monthly for all the revenue collected during that month.
Right, so it would go into the IIBF first and then come out monthly. So you would
Correct.
still see it on the balance sheet.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
I think that in the attached to the minutes from the last meeting, we put some information in there about the FCC ruling that it should explain the fund swap that Diane was describing. Okay, Kathy, you want to wrap us up?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, again, for your great questions and discussions here. Like Anita mentioned earlier, for any questions that you have afterwards, you can always send email to the IIBF inbox, the question box that we set up. It's on the meeting agenda. And also many information can be obtained from IIBF webpage from DOC's public website as well. And this meeting will be the recorded meeting will be posted, meeting minutes as well, and the report will be all there. So yeah, just, let us know if you have any questions, just send us email through that IIBF question inbox, and we will answer all the questions as possible. Again, thank you all for your time attending this meeting. We're looking forward to another one.
Kathy,
you,
you have
Kathy.
one more hand up. It's Wendy. Did you still have a question?
Oh, yeah,
Well,
we still
I
have.
was just noticing that in the chat, there was a question from Carol Welch that came in before 5 o'clock.
Okay, well, this is Diane. Let me go ahead and address that one. If there were individuals that were in some sort of housing that they did not get the credit, whether it was IMU, a isolation, or anything like that, there was a 6-week period after the credits were applied that any individual who did not receive the credit could notify their counselor, and then we made the adjustment to get their funds to them. So anyone who had missed their JPay credit or their telephone credit with GTL or their commissary credit, we had a process to go back and correct those. And I think Felix was one of the first ones to point out a problem with his loved one, and I thank him for that publicly, because that kind of brought up the whole issue that the methodology that we thought worked well didn't work well, as they created housing units that weren't actually in the system. So everyone that notified us that they had missed their credits was given those credits. And hopefully that answers your question, Ms. Welch.
All right. So if that's it, we just have a great evening, everyone. And thanks again for attending this meeting.
Families.
Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you for
evening,
joining
everyone.
us.
Have a great
Goodbye.
night. Goodbye.
Bye. Okay. We got a couple more.
Kathy, you can stop recording.
I did, I think. Oh.